First is pausing and saying, I'm triggered. Second is, where's my handy dandy puzzle? And third is sustained attention, filling your attention for 7 seconds. And then when you come back, you'll notice that you are annoyed still, or you are upset still, but you're not fuming. Slow down and be smart. Don't pour fuel on your neurohormonal cascade. We are all at the end of the day just biological animals. And we can hack our own neurobiology so we're not overtaken by it.
Welcome to Heal Your Relationships. This podcast is all about healing your marriage and your other close relationships without waiting for the people around you to change. I'm your host, Dr. Kavita Sun. Let's dive in.
Hey, how are you guys? I hope your week is going relatively okay so far. Today's topic was inspired by something that I share often and actually help clients practice inside HYR. And I was talking to a client. We do private kickoff calls with me when someone joins HYR. And I was doing one of those calls earlier today. And we talked about using this strategy. And she was so blown away by it that I was like, I should probably share this with everybody, right? That's usually how these things happen. I'm like, somebody really found that useful. All right, I'm sharing it with the world. So here's the thing, right? We all get angry, annoyed, hurt, pissed off, agitated, upset, right? We all have those sensations coursing through our bodies sometimes. And there are many, many reasons for why something might be a trigger for you. And, when something is a trigger, it means you have a receptor for that thought or feeling or interpretation, right? My grandma used to say this to me. This was in Tamil Nadu, which is a tiny state in the southern part of India, right? So this is universal knowledge that people pass on. Count to 10, right? And maybe it did work for you when you were, 7, 8, 9, 10, even 15, but it likely doesn't work for you now. Okay? Doesn't work for you now. Why is that? That's what I want to talk about. Why is that? Why did it work then? Why doesn't it work now? And what do we do? Because we have more situations that feel out of control in our adult lives than even we did as children. So what do we do now that count to 10 doesn't work? So first of all, why doesn't it work? So let me walk you through some basic neurobiology, right? When something happens that has a strong emotional punch behind it for you, which means it's a trigger for you, which means you have a story around it, something that you're taking something from the past and putting it into the present, which all of us do. It's hard to see in the moment, right? And you have a strong reaction. What's happening is your hypothalamus, right, is producing neurohormones. Emotions are actually neurohormones that are physically expressed. That's why emotions are actually moving, right? Emotion. It is emotion in motion. It's a feeling in motion. So you have these neurohormones being released by the hypothalamus, right? And goes to the pituitary, and then you have, it coursing through your body. This is what we call a cascade, a neurological cascade. So when you get a stimulus, you have neurohormones coursing through your body, and each little packet of neurohormone is able to be active for about 4 to 7 seconds. That's the lifespan of a unit. At that point, it either dissipates or it has entered into a cell. If there's an appropriate receptor, it enters into the cell and it's broken down in the cell and it changes the cell, which then produces more neurohormones that then continue the cascade. You have a trigger, your hypothalamus, which is where memory is encoded, right? So that's where the event triggers, because it's triggering some sort of memory from the past that you can't even put into words, because often these memories are encoded as a felt sense. It's a felt sensation in your body. You can't put it into words, okay? Which is why words don't work in the moment. So that same event may hit your hypothalamus and may not hit somebody else's. So it's not about the event, it's about whether it's a trigger for you. So let's say it's a trigger for you, it hits your hypothalamus, a hypothalamus stimulates your pituitary, you get a release of neurohormones, and when that is unchecked, / when you ruminate on that thing, what you're actually doing is maintaining and sort of pouring fuel onto the fire of this cascade. So as this cascade is passing through you, okay, it's intercellular. Once it touches, it's also intracellular, right? It's both. It's both in the space between, and it's also changing the cell, which then produces more, right? So when you are ruminating, you're pouring fuel onto this fire, okay? And what happens is, as the cascade is coursing through your body, you lose contact with your frontal lobe. Your frontal lobe, literally, it's like a slow dimming of the lights. You know how you guys have probably experienced this when you're flying, right? As you're taking off, you can see the twinkling of the city lights below, right? You can't quite make out any of the houses individually, but you can see life as a twinkling of lights, okay? Ruminating gives this cascade fuel. It's like turbocharging it. So as this is getting turbocharged, your frontal lobe, all the lights are slowly, the twinkling is shutting down here, there, is dimming and dimming and dimming. As this internal cascade of fire is coursing through you, your frontal lobe is dimming and dimming and dimming. Functionally. Okay, if I took an fMRI scan sometime into your ruminating, I would not see much of a frontal lobe at all. So something happens, might not be a trigger to someone else, triggers you, you're in this cascade, you are ruminating because you want to feel that feeling of righteous indignation, because that's the only sense of control we have when we're upset. So we want to feel righteous indignation. We revise those stories and over. It's hard to know whether it's from the present or from the past. It's all colluding into one. And we're making up and revising these stories. We're pouring fuel and turbocharge onto the cascade. It's coursing through our bodies, and our frontal lobe is slowly dimming away. That's what happens in a few seconds when you are triggered. When you are triggered and you're not aware, I should add. Because remember, you're ruminating. So that's a person who is at that moment not aware, right? So that's what's happening biologically. Now think about this. You're losing contact with your frontal lobe, right? Your frontal lobe needs to be brought back online. Now there are two ways to do this. Righteous indignation, right? We're just like, yeah, and how could he do this? And she is such a liar, and I am such an honest person, and I can't believe it. I must be an empath because I take people. I'm not teasing people who are empaths. I love people who have that strong muscle of empathy. I'm just saying we really create a story as if we are only this and the other person is only that. The frontal lobe is our friend during these times, because the frontal lobe is the seat for problem solving, for thinking outside the box, for new possibilities, for empathy, for thinking ahead. All of these things that we cannot do if we don't have access to our frontal lobe. So we're very much stuck without it. Now there are two ways to bring your frontal lobe back online, okay? One is to calm the limbic system. When we calm the limbic system, the frontal lobe automatically switches back on. It's kind of like a feedback loop. But it's very hard to do in the moment, right? Calming your limbic system is very hard to do in the moment. So instead, we can do the second of the two options, which is to engage the frontal lobe. Forget about the limbic system. Let it do its thing. You engage the frontal lobe. So how do we do this? Now, remember I said that each packet of neurohormone is active only for about 4 to 7 seconds. And if it's not absorbed and metabolized by a cell, which then adds the next layer of fuel, then it just kind of dissipates, right? So if we can, now here's the thing, this is the crux of it. If we can do something to interrupt that cycle, that cascade for just 6 seconds on average, 4 to 7 seconds, right? Let's say 7 seconds, just to be on the safe side. If you can interrupt it for just 7 seconds, but you got to interrupt the ruminating, which is hard to do by just telling your limbic system to calm down. So instead, we're going to engage our frontal lobe for 7 seconds. And you know how to do that? You've got to make it hard for you. That's why, coming full circle back, that's why counting to 10 forward or backward doesn't work, because it's not hard enough for you. So how can we do something that's it's hard enough to have you have to use all of your, believe it or not, even though we have extensive cognitive capacity, we only have a small bandwidth for attention in the moment, which is why, we talk about, we think we're all multitaskers. No one's a multitasker, okay? We only have a small window of attention in the moment. If we can fill that small window of attention with something that is hard enough to sustain attention for 7 seconds, you can interrupt this cascade. What this also means is you pick one way to do it, right? You pick one way to do it in the moment. It'll work for a little while and then it'll stop working because you'll get good at it and you'll be able to do it mindlessly while still ruminating. That's why it's not about counting to 10 working or not. Nothing will work long term because our brain is neuroplastic and you'll get good at that thing and then you'll just do it mindlessly while still doing the righteous indignation. Think of a math problem that is still hard for you to do in the moment. For example, you might think, if I had to use 1 3/4 teaspoon per brownie and I had to make 37.5 brownies, how many spoonfuls of sugar do I need? It's got to keep you sort of like squeezing your frontal lobe, trying to figure it out and sustaining that effort for 7 seconds. So when we do that, right, what we're doing, we are interrupting here so none of this happens, okay? Guess what? You'll still be a little bit annoyed, but you're not losing your shit over it. Does not matter what it is, guys. It's got to be something that you haven't solved many times before. It's got to be something that'll have you squeezing your frontal lobe cells because that's what makes the lights come back in the frontal lobe house. And it's got to be something that sustains that effort for 7 seconds. Okay? If you can do that, you can interrupt the cascade. Now, am I saying that you'll get triggered, you do this, and then you're going to be like, la, 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 la? No. You're still going to be annoyed. But there's a world of difference between being annoyed and feeling like you are about to throw up and you're a complete victim in that circumstance. Imagination and story making and creativity is also a frontal lobe activity. So you can do that. You can, just have 2 or 3 math puzzles in your back pocket that you use until it's run its course and now your brain just knows how to do it automatically and then you choose another, right? These are all ways of using your frontal, making it come online, but you got to be able to sustain it for 7 seconds. If you're like, how many spoonfuls? But yeah, damn it, he's so annoying. That's not going to do it. You are pouring fuel onto the fire. So first is pausing and saying, I'm triggered. Second is, where's my handy dandy puzzle? And third is sustained attention, filling your attention for 7 seconds. And then when you come back, you'll notice that you are annoyed still, or you are upset still, but you're not fuming. Slow down and be smart. Don't pour fuel on your neurohormonal cascade. We are all at the end of the day just biological animals. And we can hack our own neurobiology so we're not overtaken by it. So that's what I wanted to share today. I love you guys. I hope you found this useful. And if you are not an HYR, you need to be an HYR. Okay? Love you guys. Mwah. See you soon. Bye.
Hey, if you enjoyed this podcast and you'd like access to our marriage repair toolkit, you can go to www.healyourrelationships, all one word, healyourrelationships.com, and look for free training. I'll see you there.